I would love to introduce you to our fantastic panel tonight who are going to talk about, I guess, the ropes around live music. When do you need a manager? When do you need a tour manager? Does anyone want to tackle that?
I think normally it happens quite organically, right?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's not, when you need it, but it's also, when you're self-selling or when you're going to go and source those things. I mean, a lot of acts will, to start off and just do your own independent thing, then you go and shop your album. I mean, everything is repertoire driven, which we haven't necessarily touched on essentially, but it is about the music and it is about your commodity. And if you're going to go out there and be able to sell that, then you want to be able to say, well, I have something already. Mm-hmm. To know you've got something means you've got to build something yourself organically through family, friends and peers is your first point, and then it's the randoms that will flock to you and
fingers
all
crossed.
of a sudden, exactly. So, you've got to, I think, as far as presenting your case and having your product and knowing what you've got to sell is a big positive. When you're a little unsure, maybe you're not ready yet, that could be part of that process of when is the right time. There's not necessarily an exact right time.
No, there's no science to it. Definitely not.
No exact science at all.
Katie, for example, as a booking agent, would you take on a band that had never played a live show before?
It happens very, very rarely. Sometimes we'll be interested in an artist and if they haven't played a show before, we'll try and bring them down and do it. But it is difficult to work with somebody where there's just no momentum built there whatsoever. It only happens for the acts where we're like, this is something really, really special. And I think that it is definitely worth waiting and not having, a booking agent straight away. There's a lot of bands that come to us that just don't need an agent yet. The most important thing to us is that you learn how to own your own hometown first. If you can't bring 100 people to a gig in your own hometown, it's going to be so difficult to ship you up the East Coast to places where there's just people that haven't heard of you before. So it's really important to focus on building up your own fan base around home. And also good to wait a while and learn how to do these things yourself, because I think that if you go straight into having a manager and all these people, you're not going to really understand all the little bits and pieces that are happening around it. And all of a sudden one day you might be like, why are we doing this gig? That's not really what we wanted. Often with agents, we will find you. If you've got a good product and you've got a fan base behind you and you've got really good social media and really nice presentation online, it's very rare that you'll just go your whole life without somebody contacting you if you've got something really special there, because we're always looking constantly for new music.
This side of, the more business-focused side of the industry, we effectively make our living by knowing what's happening. And sometimes that position within an act where they think, should I be managing, should I be having an agent? I think they'll naturally come to you if you're having that success and if you're being perceived. Our jobs are to monitor what's happening out there, see who's selling, see who's doing shows, see who's coming from different cities.
Or just who's writing good music. I think it's interesting always to hear the industry talk about music as a product, and we're saying there's a business, you're a business, and you're a product and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, how much of that actually factors into the way you operate as a band?
Well, in terms of writing, for me personally, in terms of creativity, you don't think about, or you do your best not to think about, is this product marketable? Is this going to get 700 people at our hometown show? Is this going to do this or that? You just go, I'm a musician, I write what comes out of me, which is affected by the things that have influenced me, and for some reason people seem to enjoy it. But there is, after, beyond the creative process, I think that you're a fool not to be aware of it. online presence especially, like Katie was saying?
Recently, or I'm trying to start working with this band who put out a couple of really incredible tracks on SoundCloud. Like there's 3 of them up there, and they're amazing and they're weird, and I don't know how to describe them. He's playing with sounds that I've not even heard of before, but his Facebook is crap. He has a Twitter account he doesn't use. His SoundCloud hasn't been updated. It's like all of these things are just like, your music is so good, but what you're putting out on your socials is really confusing the issue. Like, what are you trying to do? Where do you want to take this? What are you trying to tell people about your music? Who are you? And he's since taken it all down to work out really what he wants to present to people. And it's kind of really working out what you want to be as an artist as well through your music and how to communicate that best to people.
Everyone who is a music lover or music fan likes to, I think, own a piece of it for themselves as such. So, it's like, I tweeted, Katy Perry, and she sent me a tweet back or something. Like, there's that interaction that was never there before the internet. It's mobilising your fan base and having that connection with them. So if you deny yourself on that social media side of things, it is detrimental, because people, they'll go there once, they'll go there twice, the third time they're not going back, and then you've lost that potential connection.
Katie, you brought up something quite interesting before, was that, you wouldn't really consider a band if they couldn't demonstrate that they were at least capable of, pulling a few hundred people in their hometown.
Yeah.
How much does all of that kind of feed into a band's ability to be successful where they start from?
It's so important, I think, just because it's where your starting point is. And then if you're a band in Newcastle, for example, and you can sell out a show, even if it's only small as well, a lot of people just want to see a sold out sticker. If you're doing a 100 cap room and it says sold out on it, they'll be just as impressed as if you're playing somewhere like the Cambridge and you've got a sold out sticker. If you can just sell out a show, that creates hype and that creates momentum, which is what we capitalise on all the time. And once you've got that kind of hype of having the sold out show, that's where word of mouth happens. If you get local bands involved as well, a lot of what we do is about the people that you know. So it's really important to be socialising and making connections with other bands, because those other bands that support you might all of a sudden have success, and they might be like, I played this great gig with this band in Newcastle, they sold it out, it was amazing, let's get them on the Sydney show. It all just kind of works in with one another.
So you've played a few shows and you're doing well. What are some of the common mistakes that a band would make when trying to organise and play and tour?
Maybe overplaying.
Overplaying?
Overplaying the hand.
Yeah.
And there's venues for that sake go, we put on a free show and it's a student night and we've always got a sort of massive crowd, and a lot of that can be beat up to a certain degree. But then the band wants to go out and try and do a ticketed event, and all of a sudden they find none of their fans wanted to come because they can see them next week for free. So you've got to be mindful about your frequency within your own local market, for instance.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is saying no to shows.
Yeah.
Is actually going, well, is this worth it? Is this going to increase my value? Is this going to increase my career? Am I going to, is taking this gig at the expense of another gig?
I think probably the biggest mistake I see in acts that are kind of pre-agent, pre-management are the fact that they tend not to self-critique their own shows very well. They'll play lots of shows and they'll play in their hometowns and they'll play to very friendly audiences, friends and family, school friends, building up in that really good capacity, so they get a lot of confidence. But then they don't have the honest, or often don't have somebody who is honestly going to stand there and say, this didn't work. That didn't look good.
It depends on knowing your fan base as well. That's where stuff like Facebook is great. And YouTube, you can see where your views are coming from. Yep. Facebook, you can see where your fans are. And so that's not saying that, oh, great, I have 200 fans in Albury on my Facebook page. So that means, boom, 200 people are going to be at my show. But at least you have a fair indication.
You might have a bottom line in there.
Of where
it's also a little bit about perspective of where you are in your career path. Again, it's just more awareness, and as Katie said, kind of knowing your own vehicle at the start so that you can get to a point where you're worth a decent guarantee. And always go for guarantee versus, because if it does go past the point, then you're going to take the extra percentage, and percentage share of profits is the way to go. You know, you want to make sure you're getting your income.
And be mindful a little bit of what Andrew's saying is of building that strong relationship with these venues out there as well, because you're going to come back round. You're going to be in there again. And,
So don't trash the green room.
I think, you know,
Do it discreetly.
A little bit of graffiti in the corner.
But be good with those
Blame it on the
people.
support.
You know, they're the people that are actually locally promoting you.
Yeah.
And they're the people that are pushing you to
And they're taking a risk.
to their
Yes.
ongoing fans. So without live music, without venues, we don't have live music, and vice versa. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, they might get you the first time, but the next time you go back, it might be, you know, more cash in your pocket.